Every afternoon at 3:17 p.m. the final bell rang at Willow Creek High, and the four of them were waiting. They called themselves the Kings. Jax Harlan, 18, quarterback, son of the richest contractor in 3 counties. Cole and Cody Briggs, 17-year-old twins whose father owned half the police force. Mason Reed, 19, already on his second senior year, knuckles scarred from years of teaching lessons. For 2 straight years they had made a sport of the walk home for any girl who dared leave school alone. They leaned against their lifted trucks in the far corner of the parking lot, engines idling, music shaking the asphalt, cigarettes glowing like red eyes. When a girl walked past, especially the quiet ones, the scholarship girls, the ones wearing last year's shoes, the ritual began. Catcalls. Phones raised to film humiliation. Hands that grabbed backpacks and emptied books into puddles. Once, they poured chocolate milk over sophomore Amara Patel's hijab while she cried silently. Another time they cornered freshman Serafina Jones in the bike racks and shaved a stripe through her waist-length black hair, to see if native girls really don't cry. She did. They posted the video anyway. The principal suspended them for 3 days. Their fathers bought new scoreboards for the football field. The suspensions disappeared. Teachers looked away. Girls learned to take the long route through the woods. Parents told their daughters to just ignore it. But someone was watching, too. Her name was Evangeline, Evie, Monroe, 17, new in town. She rode to school every morning on a battered black motorcycle that sounded like an angry bear. Leather jacket 2 sizes too big, combat boots, storm gray eyes, and a single white streak in her midnight hair that she never explained. She never spoke unless spoken to, and no one dared speak to her twice. The Kings noticed her on day 3. Look at goth Snow White trying to be tough, Jax laughed, flicking his cigarette at her boots as she walked past. The ember bounced off the steel toe. Evie didn't flinch. She just looked at him the way a wolf looks at a barking dog, quiet, measuring, already past caring. That afternoon the Kings waited for her. They surrounded her bike, 4 against 1. Jax leaned on the seat. Nice toy. Bet I could buy 10 of these with 1 phone call. Evie said nothing. She simply pulled on her helmet, kicked the engine to life, and left them choking in a cloud of exhaust. The next day her tires were slashed. The day after, someone keyed her into the tank. She never reported it. She simply replaced the tires with heavier off-road ones and painted over the word in matte black so dark it swallowed light. And every evening at 6 p.m. she disappeared down the old logging road behind the school where no one ever went. 3. The girl they hurt worst was Lila Harper. 14 years old, freckles like cinnamon on cream, voice so soft it barely carried across a classroom. Her mother cleaned houses, her father had died in Afghanistan when she was 6. Lila walked home every day because there was no money for the late bus. On a rainy Thursday in October the Kings decided Lila was their entertainment. They followed her 3 miles, throwing empty beer cans, shouting every filthy name they knew. When she tried to run, Cody tackled her into the muddy ditch. They filmed as Jax poured the rest of his beer over her head and Mason took her worn backpack and tossed it into the river. Lila lay in the mud and didn't make a sound. That was the day something broke wide open. Because that was also the day the Iron Saints rolled into Willow Creek. 4. 47 motorcycles came down Main Street just after sunset, engines growling in perfect unison. Black leather, patched vests, beards, tattoos, and eyes that had seen every kind of war. They weren't a club, in the TV show sense, they were family. Ex-Marines, ex-cops, ex-cons, widows and widowers of soldiers, all of them riding for one reason. Every member of the Iron Saints had lost a child to cancer, suicide, overdose, or violence. They had one rule: protect the kids, no one else will. Their president was a woman called Captain Rowan, Mama Bear Callahan, 6'2", silver braid down to her waist, voice like whiskey and gunpowder. Her only daughter, Lily, had taken her own life at 15 after 2 years of merciless bullying. Rowan had buried her baby wearing the same leather vest she wore now. The back patch showed a mother bear roaring over a broken halo, and underneath the words, "We are the consequences." 5. Friday afternoon. The Kings were in their usual spot, laughing, planning tonight's prey. They never saw the wall of motorcycles that rolled into the parking lot and formed a perfect steel circle around their 4 trucks. Engines off. Kickstands down. Silence heavier than thunder. 47 bikers dismounted as one. Rowan walked straight to Jax's window. He rolled it down, smirking, until he saw her eyes. "Afternoon, boys," she said, voice calm as winter. "We need to talk about manners." Jax tried his rich kid laugh. "Lady, you're on private." Rowan reached in, grabbed him by the throat with one hand, and pulled him halfway through the window like he weighed nothing. "Private property doesn't cover terrorizing children," she said quietly. "We're here to collect what you owe." Behind her, the saints opened saddlebags and began unloading backpacks, dozens of them. Muddy, torn, soaked. Every single bag the kings had ever stolen or destroyed in 2 years. Someone had fished them out of rivers, ditches, dumpsters. Someone had dried them, repaired them, filled them with new books and supplies. One biker, a giant with a gray beard and tears on his cheeks, carried Lila Harper's backpack. It had been weighted with rocks and sunk. He had dove for 3 hours to bring it back. He laid it gently at Cody's feet. Another saint, a woman with a prosthetic leg and sergeant's stripes tattooed on her arm, placed Serafina Jones's braided lock of hair, saved from the trash, into Mason's shaking palm. Phone after phone was placed on the hoods, every video, every photo, every cruel post, downloaded and printed in full color, paper clipped together in thick stacks. The circle tightened. Jax tried to start his truck. 4 bikers simply lifted the rear axle off the ground so the wheels spun uselessly. Rowan spoke again. "Here's how this goes. You are going to apologize, on your knees, in person, to every single girl you ever hurt. You will pay for everything you broke. You will work every weekend for the next 2 years at the children's shelter downtown. And every penny your daddies try to throw at this problem will go straight into a college fund for the girls you tried to destroy." Cole laughed nervously. "You can't make us." Rowan nodded to a biker wearing a Vietnam vet cap. He stepped forward holding a tablet. On the screen, live feed from inside the police chief's office. The chief, Cole and Cody's father, was currently watching the same evidence stack, pale as death. "Your fathers," Rowan said, "have already agreed. They're waiting at the station to take your statements." The twins went white. Jax tried one last threat. "You touch me and my dad will." Rowan smiled for the first time. It was not a kind smile. "Your father is currently on speakerphone." She held up her phone. A trembling voice came through. "Jax, do everything the lady says. Please. Just do it." Silence fell like an axe. 6. That evening, in the school gymnasium, under the eyes of every student, teacher, parent, and 47 silent bikers lining the walls, the kings knelt one by one. They cried real tears, snotty and ugly, as they handed back repaired backpacks, paid for ruined clothes from their own savings, and read aloud every cruel text they had ever sent. Lila Harper stood on the stage in a new coat bought by Mama Bear herself. When Jax reached her name on the list, his voice cracked so hard he could barely speak. "I'm sorry, Lila," he choked. "I was a monster. I don't expect forgiveness. I'm sorry." Lila looked at him a long time. Then she stepped forward and placed something in his hand, the muddy ribbon the twins had ripped from her hair that day in the rain. She had kept it. "Monsters can change," she said quietly. "I believe that. Prove me right." The gym erupted in tears and applause that shook the rafters. 7. 2 years later. Jax Harlan is a youth counselor at the shelter, sleeves rolled up, building bikes with kids who remind him too much of himself at 14. The Briggs twins coach middle school girls soccer unpaid every Saturday and carry water bottles like it's an honor. Mason Reed started a barber apprenticeship and gives free haircuts to foster kids every Sunday, gentle as a lamb. And every December, 47 motorcycles roll into Willow Creek again. They don't come for war anymore. They come for the Christmas party. The kings, no longer kings, just young men trying to outrun their past, throw for every kid who can't afford presents. Evie Monroe is always there, leaning against her black bike, white streak in her hair catching the snow. She never says much, but the children run to her like she's family. Mama Bear Rowan stands beside her, arm around Evie's shoulders. "You did good, kid," Rowan always says. Evie just smiles the smallest smile. Because sometimes justice doesn't wear a cape. Sometimes it wears leather, rides loud, and has already cried every tear it's ever going to cry. Sometimes it waits in the dark with 47 engines idling, ready to remind the world that if you hurt the little ones, the bears will come. And when the circle closes, even kings kneel. Thank you for watching this story till the end. Sparkles. If it touched your heart, please support us. Thumbs up, give it a like. Speech balloon, share your thoughts in the comments. Bell, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Your support helps us create more stories that inspire and make you believe in miracles. Your participation means a lot to us.